again, when you are thinking about how are we looking at the resources that teachers have in the classroom to be able to support students, is a key factor that I want to make sure that we are delivering on our promise to every single citizen. One of my other key points that I'm pushing for is to make sure that every neighborhood has a great school that children and families can choose.
How do you achieve that?
Yeah, so I think there are a variety of ways. One is making sure that we are well-resourced in our traditional schools. If our schools are not able to meet the needs, then we have to provide other options to our families.
Does that, it sounds like you're saying school choice.
Yeah.
You believe in school choice.
I do.
You believe in public school choice.
Yeah.
You believe in private school choice.
I believe that families should be able to choose what is best for their child. I know from my daughter that she is a theater person. She's been dramatic, and being able to choose the high school that she's in means a lot to me. And I want to make sure that every family gets to make those choices.
School vouchers. You've heard that phrase, right? What's a school voucher?
So it is where funding follows the child to usually a parochial or a private school.
So what would be the purest form of school vouchers for CPS? If you were a board member, maybe now back to the real world, you might be one of 21, unless you were the president of the school board, which you could in 2 years run citywide. You'd have a little more impact than one. But in any case, what might you propose relating to school vouchers if you wanted to make sure every parent was empowered to send their kids to the school of their choice? What could you do? I don't know if it'd be legal, but conceptually, we're spending $30,000 right now. Yeah, so we're spending $30,000. What could you do to empower the parents?
So I think one of the great things about being in the city of Chicago is that there are a variety of options that our families can choose from. And so I do not want to lessen those options. If you listen to the strategic plan and listen to Mayor Johnson, he wants to lessen those options and push families into neighborhood schools. And I actually want to widen the options. Like, how do we create more pathways? How do we create more options that families get to choose that are strong and good options? Because every child, again, deserves to have a great education while we're in this pre-K through 12th grade.
Take the $30,000, put it in the backpack, strap the backpack on the kid. Kid's backpack has $30,000. The kids and the parents choose to leave CPS to go. What are their choices in your world? If they're leaving CPS, what's the panorama of choices?
Yeah, so I'm not sure that a lot of our parents actually want to leave CPS.
You're not sure. Some might include staying there. Just tell the parents as the representative of the first district, tell your 30,000 or so. Is it 30,000? Parents of 30,000 kids.
Yeah.
Parents, tell them what is the panorama of choices.
Yeah, I want them to have great choices at our traditional schools, charter schools, parochial schools, and I want them to be able to make those choices.
Selective enrollment, too?
No, of course.
Because the current board seems to be rolling that back. Exactly. So say that one more time. I want to make sure they can hear us. So, say it loud. Say it loud.
Traditional schools should be great. I want parents to be able to select selective enrollment schools. A lot of our families in District 1 actually do. And so that is one of their choices. Of course, charter schools is an option. We don't have as many charter schools in District 1. And of course, parochial schools or private schools, because again, I believe that those options should be left to the parent.
How would that change? How would that improve the education of the CPS kids?
So I think,
in your view,
in my view, I believe that every school leader, every teacher is trying to think about what is best for their school. And they also want to attract families back. And so I will just share two key tidbits. So when I was principal in DC, I actually was at a school for the first time with a very low performing school in DC. A lot of the families were leaving my school and actually going to the charter school down the block. And it was understandable. Our scores were not acceptable, and the parents and the children deserve better. It was my job as the leader to figure out how to make that school better. After 3 years, we were one of the fastest growing elementary schools. We created a Spanish immersion program on the southeast side of DC, and we increased enrollment, and now that school has a wait list. I do believe that if we focus on what makes schools great, provide the right resources, talk to our community and say what will bring you back, what would get you to be here, we can actually increase the enrollment in our schools. We can actually increase the student achievement as well because we create a strong foundation.
Yeah, you could, but so the people who have looked at that, PowerPoint's looked at that, using the data of CPS, the Illinois State Board of Education, 2023, they come up with 79% of the Black students are graduating,
Yeah.
but only 11%. 11% this year of this data read at grade level. So way worse than the 1 in 4, okay? It's like 1 in 10. And 8% of the Black students do math at grade level. Hispanics do a little better, 84% are graduating, but 18%, only 18% read at grade level. Only 15% do math at grade level. So CPS graduates students without the skills they need. They can't read, they can't do math. Did I get that right?
Correct.
And you're saying some charter schools can do better. They may not be at 100%, but they're better than these numbers I've just read, and they're moving in the right direction, right?
Correct.
There are lots of choices. There are charter schools, there are parochial schools, there are select enrollment schools, there are magnet schools.
You have to be able to give parents choice, and it does force you to make a better product. So I know as principal, when I was losing students, I was like, I have to do something to bring back children, and those things was a good program and strong student achievement. And so, again, I do not see us offering choice as a negative. I think it helps us to learn from each other what makes a great school. It pushes us every single day to be better. And that's what we want. We just had the Olympics the other day, and the Olympians, they practice with each other. They push each other because they want to be great. I definitely feel like all of the different options will help us to push to be great and create a great system for every child.
So, but the issue of the day, September 30, last week, the week before, all I'm hearing from the mayor and the superintendent is, will schools get closed? Number one, why is that an issue? Why is anybody even thinking of closing any schools? Give us the data.
Yes. So there's a multitude of reasons why we might be thinking about consolidations or school closures, and that probably has come up, hence why CEO Pedro Martinez had a report about this, because 163 of our schools have less than 50% of the building utilization, which means that those schools are not maxed out to maximize the learning for the children in that building. And so, going back to the earlier point around how do we make a great school, then pull back our families, if you don't have enough students in the school, kids are not going to want to go. And so when we think about this is one of the areas that we have to focus on, is what do we do about these schools to make sure that we are actually providing the right education for the children.
Yeah, so you said 34% of the schools, I think you said, are half empty or worse. WirePoints has that data. Others have it. I don't think it's disputed. But it's not just schools, 34% of the traditional schools. This is excluding, I believe, the charter schools. When we say 34%, the traditional neighborhood school, not your select enrollment, not your private parochial school. Now, they want more of this. The school board has said this. They have said that. The 7 members, I think. I haven't heard anybody said. We want to go back to that model. Wherever you live, that's where you go to school, right?
That is one of the pieces in their 5-year strategic plan, is to push families back into their neighborhood schools. But I actually do not think that's going to help us. I actually think that's going to create either more of an issue for us.
Should some of those schools, maybe a great number of those schools, be closed? In your mind, in your view, would overall students at CPS be much better off if we closed a lot of those? I mean, we've got some here like Douglas High School, 912 student capacity, 35 actual students there, to a cost of almost $70,000 per kid. Percent of students proficient in reading at that school, Douglas? Zero. Nobody. Would you close Douglas tomorrow if you could?
So, no, I would not close Douglas tomorrow because there are children in that building.
Next year.
No,
Would you close it? No, but they should go somewhere. I'm not saying you should abandon the kids. Oh, contrary. If you close the school when 0% are reading at grade level, might we push it up to, 10, 15, 30, 40%?
So what I think we need to do is work with our communities and really have a conversation about what are the needs of the community, understand that better so that we can sit here and figure out how to support that school and also share with them the facts that you just shared. I don't think that every family in the community wants to spend $70,000 per child to go to that school. I do think
to get 0 kids reading at grade level, I think you could spend maybe a quarter of that and you might get 30% reading at grade level. That would be a much better number, right?
They want their kids to be doing well.
Yeah.
So that is a conversation that we need to have to figure out, what is it that we need to put into that school to actually make that happen, and talk to our families, if this doesn't occur in the next X, Y, and Z years, let's find a better option for your child. But I think that conversation needs to be done with the community and not to them.
Who's in the community? Who's that conversation with? Parents.
But I want to go back to, again, 2 things that we were talking about. One is, are we using our budget effectively? When we think about how much our budget has increased over the years, right? $30,000 per child. And so that's why the budget transparency and the return on investment is so important.